All of my study and my research, my consulting business and my speaking career has been to find out what it is that makes some people successful while other people are not particularly successful. And I've found some exciting answers through the years, especially as it relates to financial success. On this CD, we're talking about the invisible profit system. That is, how people can become financially successful. What is it that separates some people from being financially successful and other people only wishing to become financially successful? This CD isn't about all sorts of success. This one specifically is about financial success. Now, my goal on this CD is to help you discover the primary keys to achieving financial security and independence. Specifically, how network marketing and direct sales is an incredible opportunity for anyone to achieve financial security and independence. Now, I know what you might be saying. You might be saying, but I've heard that all before. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in that kind of thing. Or you might say it doesn't work. Or you might even say it's a scam. I don't believe in network marketing or direct sales or multi-level marketing. In fact, it's all a pyramid scheme, you might say. And I can understand, based on some things that have gone on in the past, where you might be skeptical. But I'd like to challenge you to take the next bit of time that we have together to really think about your life and to think about taking charge of your life and how you might decide to achieve financial independence and what it would take to achieve financial independence. How can you do that for yourself and for your family? So let's talk a little bit about network marketing and direct sales businesses. Now, you might think, well, it's not a legitimate business. But did you know that since 2002, legendary investor Warren Buffett, the owner of Berkshire Hathaway, one of the most conservative investors in the history of the world, and certainly one of the most successful, if not the most successful investor in the history of the world, they call him the Oracle of Omaha. Did you know that his company has purchased a number of network marketing and direct sales companies? Did you know that some of the largest companies in the world have whole arms of their companies that are devoted to network marketing in order to get their products and services out to the masses for a little bit of money compared to a traditional distribution model? Why is it that Warren Buffett would purchase network marketing direct sales companies? Why is it that some of the largest companies in the world would devote specific parts of their companies to network marketing? Why is it that so many people in America participate in a network marketing distribution model? Why? Because it works. I want to give you 3 reasons why you consider that it works. First of all is the distribution model. Think about the way that products and services, particularly products, are normally distributed. And then think about how much time, money, and effort is wrapped up inside of that distribution model. For example, if you're a large conglomerate with stores all over the country, you have to have the product manufactured at the producer, and then they ship it to you in your warehouses, and then you have to load it up into trucks, and you have to send it out to the stores that you have all over the country, and each of those stores might have cost you $1 million or $5 million to build, or you might pay $100,000 a month in leasing in order to have that storefront there. All of the money and the energy and the transportation and all of the stuff that goes into the distribution of products takes a lot of time, money, and energy. But what about network marketing? The distribution model is clean and it's efficient, and it allows the money that would have been given out into the process of distribution and transportation in the traditional model, it gives the money to the people who actually help get the product distributed. The distribution model is validated as a unique and efficient distribution model. It's a valid distribution model. That's why people like Warren Buffett are interested in it. Secondly, it gives the money to the people rather than the process. Now, I mentioned that briefly under distribution model, but the reason it works is because people are motivated to sell products and services through a network marketing direct sales model because the money goes to the people rather than the process. Instead of pouring money into distribution plants and trucks and shipping and storefronts and all the things that go into that, instead, the money goes to the people who build out the distribution. Already involved in network marketing? In fact, it's true. You already do network marketing. You just don't get paid for it. See, think about this for a moment. You go to a movie, and you watch this movie, and you love it. And what do? The next time you're at a party, and somebody says, oh, I saw a great movie, you say, I saw a great movie too. Have you seen it? And they say no, and you say, you've got to go see it. And your enthusiasm and your support of the movie gets other people to go see that movie. You're already marketing through your network. The same might be true if you go and visit a restaurant. Maybe a new restaurant opens up and nobody else has heard of it yet, but you see it one night when you're driving home from work. You say to your spouse, hey, I just saw a nice little restaurant open up. Let's go give it a try this week on our date night. And you go there and you love the food and you love the service. And what do? You market through your network. You tell other people about it, but the difference is you don't get paid on it. The fact is that every single person is already in network marketing. You might go visit a church. You might go visit a restaurant. You might see a movie. You might read a book. All sorts of things that we are involved in, we then go out and market for free. What you need to understand about the power of network marketing is that businesses are willing to pay you to help them get the word out on their products and services. That's all network marketing is. It's marketing through your network. So network marketing works because you have a distribution model, money to people rather than process, people already network. Now, if you combine that with the fact that there's corporate downsizing going on and people are looking for another option rather than working 20 years for a corporation and then having that corporation say, sorry, now you can't work here anymore because we're downsizing, people are looking for another option. The work at home trend is another thing that you add into the reasons why it works, because people want to be able to work at home. They want to not have to go off somewhere. They want to spend more time with their family. All of this equals one big opportunity. People want to achieve financial independence. They don't want to work for a corporation that's going to be downsizing them. They might want to work at home and have time freedom. All of those things wrap up into the idea that perhaps now is the time, more than ever, that you ought to at least consider, as an option, network marketing or direct sales. Okay, now I hope I've whet your appetite to at least consider that perhaps this might be something that can help you achieve financial independence. But I'd like to have us go back to that original question. What makes some people financially successful while other people aren't? Here's the key. The people who become financially successful are people who get into a profit system rather than a wage system. Jim Rohn, he's been around for a long time, one of the wisest men who's ever spoken to audiences around our world. He says it this way: profits are better than wages. You see, people who end up with financial independence are people who are in a profit system rather than a wage system. Here's the difference. Profits are ownership. Wages are trading time for money. See, what happens is when you own something, it's a profit. All the money that comes in is your profit, and you can take it. You can grow your profit, and profits can be limitless. You can make more profit, make more money, and since you own it, it's yours. Wages, on the other hand, you are trading time for money. Now, you might be able to make a pretty good wage, but the fact is as soon as you stop trading time for money, you stop getting that wage. Typically, it starts out when you're a kid. You go in and you flip burgers or whatever for a very small wage. And then from there, your wage increases depending upon experience and education and longevity in your current workplace. But the fact is that nobody gets rich in the wage system. People get rich all of the time in the profit system. No one gets rich in the wage system. Now, I do want to give one caveat to that, and that is that pro athletes get rich in the wage system. They're about the only people that get rich in the wage system. You got a guy who's a pro baseball player, and he might make $7 million a year. So if you can throw an 85-mile-an-hour curveball, or if you can throw a 65-yard pass with a football, or if you can dunk a basketball any which way, then maybe you can get rich in the wage system. But for the vast majority of people, they don't get rich in the wage system. There is another group of people that you might think get rich in a wage system, and that would be corporate execs of the large companies, the large corporations. And they do make a lot of money in the wage portion of their $600,000, and that is a lot of money, but it's not ownership kind of money. In fact, the people, when you look at the people who make a lot of money as corporate executives, most of their wealth comes from that which they earn through the profit portion of their contract, not the wage portion of their contract. That's why somebody might make $400,000 as their wage portion, but because of the shareholder stake that they have, where they've been given stock options, where they actually own stock in the company, that's where they might make $10 million, $30 million, $50 million, something like that. You see, the people who get rich are people who are in the profit system rather than the wage system. Pro athletes and corporate executives are such a small, minute percentage that they are statistically insignificant. Here's the problem with the wage system. See, the wage system is low risk. And since it's low risk, it means low reward. The fact is if you go into the wage system, you might be 35 years old or 50 years old, however old you are, you're in the wage system. And the fact is you probably have low risk. I mean, if you go out and you get a college degree and you can get a job and work for somebody else, probably not a huge risk of being fired. But, even if you are, you'd probably be able to get another job. But the fact is that you also have low reward. See, low risk means low reward. Chances are you might not lose your job, but chances are you're not going to ever get more than about a 3% cost of living raise every year. And sometimes the cost of living raise doesn't even actually add up to what cost of living actually increases. You see, the problem with the wage system is it's low risk, low reward, and it has limited upside. Your ability to grow into financial independence is limited. Now, there is a way that if you're within the wage system that you can actually become financially independent. And you're saying, well, Chris, you just told us it's impossible. The only way, if you're working in the wage system to get wealthy, is to take some of your wage money and put it over into a profit system. That might be somebody who takes some of their money and they save it up and then they buy stock. Now they're in the ownership. Now they're into profits. Or they might take their money and they might buy a rental house or something like that. Now they're into the ownership or the profit system. If you're just in the wage system, you cannot get financially successful and independent. Very, very rarely. Let's think about the Forbes 400 list for a moment. The Forbes 400 list is a list that comes out in Forbes magazine every year where they list the 400 richest people. Now, there's two kinds of people who are on the Forbes 400 list. The first kind of person who is in the Forbes 400 list, they are people who own and or started their own business. So, for example, richest guy in the world, at least currently, is Bill Gates. He started and still owns a major portion of Microsoft. So his wealth is built through starting and owning a business that grew and gave him a great amount of wealth. That's a typical way that people make it onto the Forbes 400 list. That's one way that people make it. They own and or started their own business. They're in the profit system. Now there's a second kind of person, though, who makes it onto the Forbes 400 list. This person is a person who inherited their money from somebody who started and or owned their own business. See, nobody gets onto the Forbes 400 list through the wage system. You're never going to achieve financial independence if you stay in the wage system. That's a fact of life. If you are saying to yourself, I want to be financially successful, I want to have complete and total financial freedom and financial independence and time freedom that comes from that, if that is your goal, if that's something that you want for yourself and for your family, you've got to understand that you will never do it in the wage system. Now, you may never be on the Forbes 400 list. I hope some of you do actually get onto the Forbes 400 list. That'd be great. But the fact is most of us won't be on that list, but we can achieve financial independence. Let me ask you this question. Where will you be financially if you stay in the wage system for 10 more years? Where will you be? If you're 40, you'll be 50. And when you're 50, how much more financial freedom will you have? Or will you simply have just let 10 more years pass up? That is a very sobering question, and one that I think you need to answer now rather than later. Where will you be financially if you stay in the wage system 10 more years, or even worse, the rest of your life. Okay, so you're saying, I got it. I got to get into the profit system. Great. Let's look at the different kinds of profit systems. The first one is what I call the stationary profit system. And the stationary standard traditional profit system creates wealth. It means you own your own business. And this would be a traditional business that you might see all around your town. It might be a furniture store or an ice cream shop or a store where they sell clothing, whatever it might be. This is a standard traditional profit system. And I call it stationary for a specific reason. I'll tell you about it in a minute. But this is the kind of thing that creates wealth. In fact, there was a book written called The Millionaire Next Door, and the basic premise of it is that the average American millionaire is not the flashy celebrities that we see on television, but the average American millionaire is a person who owns their own business. They pay off their house. They don't buy new cars all the time. That's what the average millionaire in America looks like. It looks like the person next door, except that they're a millionaire. And the number one way they get to become a millionaire is by owning their own business. Now, here's the thing about the stationary standard traditional profit system. It has higher reward, obviously, because you can make a lot of money, but it also has higher risk. So it's not the low risk, low reward of the wage system. It's higher reward, but it also has higher risk. Let's think about that. What does it take to start a traditional, standard, stationary profit system? Say, for example, a store. Maybe you're going to open up a franchise. You say, I want to open a sandwich shop. So you go to one of the famous sandwich shops and you say, I want to buy a franchise and open up a shop and start making ham and cheese sandwiches for everybody. What does it take? Well, it takes some fees, doesn't it? You have to pay some money to that franchise operator, and sometimes that thing can get up to $100,000, $250,000, $500,000. I know a gentleman who owns a franchise. He paid $1 million for it. He paid $1 million for it. Now, he also makes $250,000 a year clear off of it, and that's why he was willing to do it, but he had to put in a lot of money. That is a high risk. So he has fees. Well, then you also have licenses. You got to get business licenses from the city and from the state. You got legal fees because you got to get things set up in corporations, and maybe you're an S corp, maybe you're a C corp, maybe you're a sole proprietor. You got to do all your legal stuff. You have to buy equipment. Let's say again you're going to open up that sandwich shop. You got to buy all the things like the knives and that kind of stuff. You got to buy refrigerators. You got to buy ovens if you're going to bake bread and toast the bread and those kinds of things. You got to buy all those kinds of things and sink a lot of money into it. You've got to do advertising and marketing. You've got to go out and buy those little mailers, advertising those little mailers that go out. You got to buy newspaper ads, and you might even be really ambitious and buy radio ads or whatever. So you've got those kinds of expenses. And then you've got real estate leases. You've got to go down to your local strip mall, and you got to contact one where there's an opening, and you got to negotiate all that. And you might be into that for $3,000 to $8,000 a month. So when you look at all that, you've got your fees, you've got your licenses, you've got your legal, you've got your equipment, you've got your advertising and marketing, you've got real estate leases, etc., etc., etc. Here's the bottom line. It takes a lot of money to open your own business. It's high risk, but yes, you can get high reward from it. And that's where most millionaires are made. They are made because they're in a standard, traditional, stationary profit system. If you want to start your own, or you want to buy a franchise, you're looking at somewhere between $75,000 and $1.5 million to even open the doors. I suppose you might be able to shoestring it a little bit less than that, but the fact is that the average business that gets started somewhere between $75,000 and $1.5 million. They can make a lot of money, though. And that's good, and that's where most people have made their money. But you know what? That's what separates them from the people who are not financially independent and successful, is because at least they're in the right system. So, I told you that I'd tell you why I call it stationary. Here's why I call it stationary. It's because it's limited by time and space. You see, a traditional business, let's say you go down, you open up a sandwich shop, and you're on the corner there in the strip mall, right on the main drag through town. You're limited by time and space. You can only have so much space in that little space that you rent, right? You can only put so many cash registers along the back of the wall. You can only hire so many employees who will fit behind the cash registers at once. You can only actually process a certain amount of sandwiches per day. Now, you might be able to crank a lot of people through there and make a good profit, profit, but ultimately you're limited by time and space there. Only be open 24 hours a day. You might be able to do that. If you were open 24 hours a day and you were cranking as many people through there as possible, you are still limited by time and space. Unless you do it all over again. You have to do it all over again. What do you have to do? Well, you have to expend some more fees. You have to do a little bit more on your legal. You have to go out and buy more equipment. You have to do a little more advertising and marketing. And you have to go out and do more real estate stuff. It's a whole nother option, but it takes a lot of effort. And it's worth it for a lot of people. And that's the backbone of our society is small business. But it costs a lot of money. A lot of people, it's great, and they earn a lot of money, but the fact is that it takes a lot of time and effort and energy and money. Is there a better way? That would be the question. Is there a better way? Is there a way that is low risk with the potential of higher reward? Is there a way that we can get the risk level of being in the wage system, but the reward level of being in the profit system? And yes, there is. The next kind of profit system is the leveraged profit system. This is where network marketing and direct sales come in. You see, network marketing is not bound by time and space. You're paid on your work, yes, but it's leveraged because you're also paid on the work of others. So as you build your network and other people decide that they're going to either buy the products themselves or build a business by having other people work with them and sell the product, and you know how the network builds out, right? You get paid on your work and a little bit on the work of others. And the bigger you build your network and the more leadership and value you provide to that network, the more money you make, even though it's a smaller percentage, you make money on the work of others. That's a great leveraged profit system. You know, it's easy to start a branch office in network marketing. Instead of having to go through the real estate and the new advertising and buying all the machinery and all those kinds of things, what do? You call your sister in Ohio and say, would you like to help sell this? She says, yes, you've got your first branch office. Didn't take a whole lot of effort, did it? You see, the beauty of the leverage profit system of network marketing and direct sales is that you are earning an income even when you aren't working. But there's something even greater. And this is what I call the invisible profit system. This is what makes the leverage profit system so amazing, is that in this day and age in network marketing and direct sales, it is virtually invisible. Let's talk about that for a moment. What makes it invisible? Well, first of all, startup costs are nearly nothing, especially when you compare it to a traditional business. You know, as I've done some research in the network marketing field, I've found that the costs range from as little of $19 to $2,500. And even at $2,500, it is significantly less. In fact, it's a fraction of what you would pay to start a traditional, standard, stationary profit system or business. So startup costs are nearly nothing, so as to be nearly invisible. But let's look at the workings of this business as compared to a traditional profit system. The invisible profit system has no employees. In fact, when I go out and I speak to a lot of network marketing companies, and I've spoken to a lot of traditional businesses as well, people in the financial industry and all sorts of industries, technologically based companies. I've spoken to groups at Harvard Business School. I've spoken to groups at Cisco Systems, General Electric. I've done all across the board. I've looked at all sorts of businesses. And one of the amazing things I find when I go into network marketing companies, and I'll work with some of the very top people, and the only people I ever find who have an employee are the very, very, very top people. For example, I know a woman who makes significantly into many hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. Let's call it $300,000 to $400,000 a month. How many employees does she have? One. And you know what? What happens is when you look at the top income earners, those employees are people who are basically helping them take care of their office. They are people who are admins for them and helping them because they're out traveling around and helping other people build their networks. But it's not like they have a $400,000 a month income and they have to have 25 employees that they're overseeing and doing all these things. Most people, though, the people who I've met who are making $20,000 to $30,000, maybe $40,000 a month, which is still considerably more than you're going to earn in the wage system, and that, yes, I said per month, those people have no employees. It's invisible. There's no accounting. I mean, if you think about it, there's no accounting other than your own personal check that you get each month. See, the company, the corporation that owns the network marketing company, they do all of the accounting. Office, you don't have to buy a branch office. You don't have to lease a storefront. Nothing. There's no manufacturing. You don't have to manufacture the product. There's no shipping. You don't have to sit there and package it up and ship it off. There's no research and development. There's no warehousing. Now, I know that a long time ago there used to be some warehousing, but hardly any of the network marketing companies or direct sales do you have to even do your own warehousing anymore. There's no special equipment that you have to buy. In fact, if you have a computer, which you probably already have anyway, and a telephone, which I'm assuming you already have anyway, you're up and running. All of these things, no employees, no accounting, no real estate, no manufacturing, no shipping, no research and development, no warehousing, no special equipment, all of these things make it the invisible business. What are you doing? You're building a network, and a network is relationship to relationship. It's person to person. Some people call this the perfect business. It's leveraged and it's invisible. Think about it. Why would it be perfect? Well, you own your own company. You are an individual contractor. You're an independent contractor. That means that you work for yourself, you own your own business, and the company pays you to build a network of other independent contractors. You have very limited startup costs. If you want to get into the profit system for the least amount of money, find a network marketing company that's going to give you the ability to sell something you're passionate about and have limited startup costs. It has flexible hours. See, in the wage system, what do you have to do? In the wage system, you got to go when somebody else tells you to go. You got to get there when they expect you to be there. And even when you own a traditional business, there are standard operating business hours, and you most likely have to be down there during those times. With a network marketing business, you have flexibility. You have potential for very large residual income. You have the potential for a very large residual income. First of all, let's deal with that fact that it's very large. I've met people all around the country, and I know some of you have said, well, I've never met any of these people. You know what? I travel all around the country, and I've met so many people who are earning $20, $30, $40, $50, $60,000 a month. And these people are not supercharged, extraordinary business people. These are average, ordinary people who've decided to get in, and they work hard, and they build a network that pays them very lucrative amounts of money. Now, the beauty of it also is that it's residual. That means if you build out a network, and that network continues to purchase and buy the products and services, you continue to get paid. Now, you have to continue to work your business if you want to keep building it and those kind of things. But I will tell you, it's interesting. I have actually met people who had a big network marketing business 15 or 20 years ago, and I mean big. It was really big, and then they decided they were never going to do anything with it ever again, and they are still making $1,000 or $1,200 a month 20 years later. I'm not suggesting you do that. I'm suggesting that you continue to build your business, but what I'm saying is that even if you were to stop, as long as that network continued purchasing, you would continue to get a residual income. Now, this is not get rich quick. That's been one of the problems historically, is that people have sort of pitched it to be a get rich quick scheme. And there are some people who have gotten rich quick. I have met some people who have started out and 18 months later they're making $60,000 a month. But that is the exception and not the rule. It is not a get-rich-quick scheme. In fact, I did a research project where I took 7 people who are very high-income earners in a bunch of different network marketing companies. I had men, I had women, I had northerners, I had southerners, I had people in their 50s, I had people in their early 30s, all across the board. It was a mixture of people, different companies, whatever. And the average amount of time that they were in their business, and the minimum income was $80,000 a month, and the maximum income was nearly $400,000 a month in that group. The average time that they were in their business was 11 years. See, it's not a get-rich-quick, but it is a get-rich-steady. As you continue to build your business, it eventually grows, and as time goes, you have the power and the leverage of time, and the network grows and grows and grows. Eventually, your checks get bigger and bigger, and it provides you a lucrative residual income. See, it starts slow, but it builds and builds and builds. Now, I have a friend of mine who makes about $400,000 a year in network marketing, and so that's about $35,000 a month, and he's been in it 11 years. And I asked him one time, I said, how many people do you think would devote 11 years if you guaranteed that they'd make $400,000 a year for the rest of their life? People would probably do it. Because most people aren't willing to put in the time to build that kind of business. But here's the irony in it all, is that even if they aren't building that 11-year business of network marketing that provides them with a long-term, high-income, residual income at the end, they're going to put that time and effort somewhere. And unfortunately, they're probably going to put it into the wage system. So at the end of 11 years, what do they have? Well, on one hand, they could have a lucrative residual income. On the other hand, they have a place where they're still in a position where they have to trade their time for money. They have no leverage in their income. You see, network marketing direct sales is a leveraged, invisible profit system that is low risk with high potential reward. Now, there's no guarantees, but it has high potential reward. So you might ask, Chris, is that all it takes? Being in the right system? Is that enough? No, it's not. It's the start. In order to achieve financial independence, yes, you have to be in the right system. You have to be in the profit system rather than the wage system. But there are lots of traditional business owners who don't succeed financially and achieve financial independence. In fact, there's lots of network marketing people and direct sales people who don't succeed and achieve financial independence. So it brings us back to that question again. Once you're in the right system, what separates the successful from the unsuccessful? It's mandatory that you be in the right system, the profit system rather than the wage system, and I encourage you to consider network marketing and direct sales as a vehicle for that. So what separates the successful from the unsuccessful once you're in that system? Well, here's some of the things that I got from the folks who I did my research from. Now, I interviewed these people. I asked them lots of questions, and I said, what is it that makes people successful in this? And the number one thing I got from every single one of them, and the other thing about this is none of these people knew each other. They didn't know each other. They don't know each other's names. They don't know who they are. They're in different companies, but they all said, follow the proven system. You see, over the course of the years, they find out what works. They realize what it's going to take to actually build their system. And some people, they're selling services, and other companies, they're selling products. It might be healthcare or skincare or whatever the products might be, and they're selling those things. But each individual, through the course of time, has developed a system that works. And occasionally people come in and they're in the profit system, but they won't follow the proven system of sales. They say, well, I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to do it my way because I'm a smart person, and I know that all these other people do it one way, but I'm going to do it another way. The people who succeed in network marketing follow the proven system. They don't think that they're smarter than the people who've already done it. They say, what can I do to succeed? And they follow that system. Now, isn't that true? For example, let's say that you were desiring to become a real estate magnate. Wouldn't you find somebody who's already successful in real estate and ask them how they did it and then just start doing it in that way? That's what I would do. I would say, how did you build a $50 million portfolio of real estate? And then I would start taking that. I'd start doing it myself. You see, you follow the proven system of people who are successful. It might even be in parenting. You go to some parents who have some great kids and they've been successful with it. You follow a proven system. What have you done? And you learn from them and you do the same. No sense trying to reinvent the wheel. Now, another thing that these folks said in this research project was they said, and this was basically the number 2 answer, was don't quit. Don't quit. Now, the fact is a lot of people quit, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but a lot of people quit this business, and they quit before they can become successful. There's one young gentleman, he's 32 years old, who I interviewed. He makes about $80,000 a month, and he's in a network marketing business, and he said after 3 years, he's been in it 7 years when I did the research project, but he said, Chris, after 3 years, I had nobody in my downline. And he said, Chris, not only did I have nobody, but I never had anybody. I had never even signed anybody up and then had them quit on me. 3 years, I kept trying, I kept working, and I had nobody. So from 0 to 3, nobody. From 3 until 5, things finally clicked for him, and he built a $20,000 a month business. And from year 5 to year 7, he upped it to $80,000 a month. He didn't quit before he could become successful. Most people quit before they can become successful because they don't understand the nature of network marketing. You see, this quote has been around for a long time, and he's the person who actually said it first, but he says that most people overestimate what they can do in a year, but they underestimate what they can do in 10 years. Now, that's fascinating to me because the percentages that I've seen that up to 90% of the people quit their network marketing company before the first year. Why? Because they come in and they think, oh, I'm going to get rich quick. I'm going to make $10,000 a month after 6 months, and I'm going to be able to do all this. And then month 9 comes, and even if they're making $700 a month part-time or $1,000 a month, whatever they might be making, they say, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. See, they had overestimated what they could do in a year, and they say, I'm going to quit. And they don't realize that at least they're going in the right direction. If they give it some time, they will probably have underestimated what they could do in 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years. Another thing that's interesting is I travel around the country and I'll speak to these large network marketing groups. And usually there's one of the top income earners there that's at these large gatherings. And I'll usually look at them. I'll get a chance before the meeting or whatever to introduce myself to them, or over the course of time I'll get to know them. And during the meeting I'll look at them and I'll say, did you ever, in your wildest imaginations, think that you would be making $150,000 a month? And I have never gotten an answer where somebody says, yep, that was me. You know, I thought that that's what I was going to do. See, they had all underestimated what they would actually do if they became successful in network marketing or direct sales. Don't quit. Now, another thing that is important for us to understand that separates the successful from the unsuccessful when you get into your network marketing business is some people are hunters rather than fishers. And I found that people who become successful are people who are fishermen rather than hunters. Now, you might be saying, sounds like you're off your rocker. What are you talking about? There is a difference in philosophy about how to engage people. And I would suggest that this is the same in a traditional business as well as a network marketing business. But in the network marketing business, I know that in the past, some people have gotten a bad reputation for really being, let's just be nice and call it, overly aggressive. They are what I call hunters. They're not fishers. Now let's think about that analogy for a moment. When an animal is being hunted, what does it do? It runs, right? If an animal knows that it's being hunted, it runs, it sprints as fast as it can in the other direction. Have you ever thought about the fact that sometimes when you're out hunting people in the sales process, that people are running from you for a reason? Because they're afraid that if you catch them, they're going to die, right? And they don't want to die. The fact is that people who are successful are not hunters, but they are fishers. They fish for people rather than hunt them down. When people think they're being hunted down, they run. It's human nature to try to get away from somebody who's trying to get us to do something. Human nature. But let's think about being a fisherman. You see, when you're fishing an animal, the animal comes. Now, I had a guy come up to me a couple months ago and he said, Yalek, he said, here's the deal. In both hunting and fishing, the animal still dies. And I said, not true. You see, in fishing, you can do catch and release. And I've never ever heard of shoot and release. You don't run up to Bambi and pull the bullet out and say, just kidding, run off into the woods again. No, you see, when you're hunting, they always die. But when you're fishing, you can attract. You see, building a network marketing business successfully over the long term is about attracting other people. It's about gaining influence in your circle of influence and building a network because you're attractive to other people. It's more like fishing than it is hunting. You see, when you're hunting, people run. When you're fishing, people come. So what is it that makes for a successful fisherman? Well, first of all, you have to go where there's fish, right? In fact, I was traveling on the airplane here some time ago, and I was telling the gentleman who I was sitting next to what I do for a living, and we got to this hunting and fishing thing. And I said, there's 3 things that you have to know about fishing. Do you know what they are? And he said, well, first of all, there has to be fish. And I said, okay. There's 4 things you have to know about fishing. Do you know what they are? Number 1, correct, you have to have fish. Now, Jim Rohn says that the key to success in sales is there has to be lots of people. And the good news is, There's lots of people. Don't worry about having an opportunity. There are plenty of people, but you have to go where there are some fish. Now, secondly, you have to go where the fish are hungry or where the fish are biting. One of the reasons that people are not particularly successful sometimes in network marketing is they find somebody who has no interest whatsoever. And they just decide, I gotta get this person to do it though. And so they switch from being a fisher to a hunter. And what happens? That person runs away. And then they get frustrated and then they quit. Instead, just saying, you know what? This fish isn't hungry at this point. I'm just going to continue to find people who might be interested in my products or services. But if then you go through 1,000 people, you've got 10 people who will help you build your business, and they do the same thing. The other thing to think about, though, is that a fish might not be hungry at the time that you put your line into the water, but if you come back to the river or the lake later on, they at that point might be. You can talk to people and find out if they're interested, and they might say, well, no, I'm not particularly interested right now, but if you wait long enough, maybe they'll get laid off from their corporation, or they want to find some flexibility in their life, or situations change. The kids are now no longer infants, but they've gone off to school. They have a little bit more time. Then they might be hungry. At that point, you can help them find a way to build a business. Now, the third thing is when you're fishing is you have to understand that certain fish require certain bait. You have to have the right kind of bait. And here is what separates the successful from the unsuccessful. The successful understand that they are the bait. You see, you are the bait when you're trying to sell something. When you're talking to somebody or trying to convince somebody of something or trying to make an argument for something, trying to influence people, trying to lead people, you have to understand that they are buying you. They're not buying the product. They're not buying the service. They're not buying the network marketing plan or the compensation plan. They're buying you. You have to be credible in order for them to then pursue the other ideas. If you are not credible, if you aren't the right kind of bait that they are attracted to, they'll never get to the other things that might help close the deal that they would get involved with your company. So you have to be more of a fisherman than a hunter. And then the last one, as it relates to fishing, is you have to make the right kind of presentation. The successful people understand that it's about presentation. How do they present themselves to other people? How do they present the business? Are they polished? Do they learn what they need to learn to be able to educate people? Do they present themselves as low pressure rather than high pressure? It's all in the presentation. Another thing that is interesting about successful people, and this is now moving away from the fishing idea, is another key to success for the successful as opposed to the unsuccessful. It's old, but it's simple. And this is another thing that I heard from the people who've been successful in network marketing. They said, you know what? You have to work hard. You simply have to work hard. You have to get out there. You have to spend time on the phone. You have to meet with people. You're going to take no for a lot of the answers, but you have to be diligent, and you're going to have to get out there and build your business. It's not going to come easy. It's a flexible business. It's a nice business. It's a lucrative business. It's a great business to get into for a little bit of money, but every one of those sentences included one word, business. It's still a business. It's a network marketing business, not a network marketing vacation. You see, it's not a network marketing hobby, it's a network marketing business. And so you are going to have to work it like a business. And it takes good old-fashioned hard work. That's another key to the successful versus the unsuccessful. Okay, Chris, you've told me all those kinds of things, but is there a difference between the kind of people? Is there one kind of person versus another kind of person? Well, I wouldn't say in terms of personality or introvert, extrovert, those kinds of things, because there are people who are successful in all different personality traits and introverts and extroverts. There are people who are successful. But one key that I found, and this is something that Jim Rohn has talked about for years and years, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. You see, once you get into the right system, the profit system, there are some people who are successful and some people who aren't. And the people who are successful work harder on themselves than they do on their jobs. You see, it's about building their personal growth. They get into personal development. They make themselves better. When I meet with people who've been very successful in network marketing, I ask them, did you have to grow to be able to run this size of a business, this big of a business? When you start out, you have one person in your downline, and then it goes to 5, and then it goes to 10. And some of these folks have 10 or 50 or 75,000, 100,000 people in their downlines, and they are now leading a big business. And they had to learn what it would take to become a leader. How did they do that? They worked harder on themselves than they did on their job. They worked hard on their job. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean work hard on yourself, don't work hard on your job. It means you work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Because your ability to succeed in your network marketing business is going to be dependent upon how much you grow yourself. Your business will always be limited by the size of your personal growth. In fact, income rarely exceeds personal development. The more you grow, the more you can grow your business, which will grow your income. But first comes personal growth. So what is it? What are the characteristics of people who become successful? Let's talk about what we're working on ourselves. What are the areas that they've mastered, that they've achieved? I want to give you 5 specific ones that are imperative to building a great life that allows you to build a great business within the profit system. The first one is integrity. Now, I'm convinced that most people don't really know what it means to have integrity. I'll tell you why. When I travel around the country, I'll ask this question. I'll say, how many of you, based on watching television or reading the newspapers or what you see all around the country as you're watching society, would say that we have an integrity crisis amongst leaders? That, we've got leaders who don't have ethics or morality or whatever. And about 80% of the hands, 70 to 80% of the hands always go up. Yes, we've got an integrity problem. But then I'll ask them this question. I'll say, now, how many of you personally, individually, have little or no integrity? And in all the years I've done it with the tens of thousands of people I've asked that question, nobody's ever raised their hand and said, that's me, no integrity, right? So what's interesting is we're saying, yes, we've got a problem, and no, I'm not part of it. That tells me that perhaps we don't understand what it means to have integrity. Integrity, if you go back to the old high school math term integer, you remember that? What is an integer? Integer and integrity share the same common root word. And an integer, if you remember back to high school math, for some of us it's longer ago than for others, an integer is a whole number. Did you know that the root word of integrity and integer simply means whole? It means we live our lives in such a way that we are whole. Or, in other words, not divided. It means we have one part, not 2 parts. Let's think about that 2-part idea. It means we don't have a part that tells the truth in one situation and lies in another. It means we don't have one part that treats some people nice and another part that treats people not so nice. It means we don't have one part that pays our income taxes and another part that doesn't pay our income taxes. See, that's a lack of integrity. When we have 2 parts, we lack integrity. And people who build successful long-term lives are people who have integrity. Their word is their bond. They are people who, when they say something, you know that it's truthful. And that integrity, it transcends industry. It works in your marriage. It works in your neighborhood. It works in your business. It works if you're in a wage system or profit system. You've got to have integrity. But people who get into network marketing or any sort of business who don't have integrity, eventually people say, I'm not going to follow that person anymore. I'm not going to buy from that person anymore. So work hard on your integrity. Make sure that you get all those little places in your life. And we've all broken our own moral code at times. We've all done things wrong where in hindsight we go, I wish I wouldn't have said that. I wish I wouldn't have done that. I feel guilty that I did that. That was wrong of me to do. We all have little cracks in our integrity, but it's key to fix them. Let's think about that for a minute, that whole idea of cracks in our integrity. If you go to structural engineering and the term integrity in that context, you think about the fact that structural engineers are always interested in small little cracks. Because, now, a small little crack isn't going to bring down a building, is it? Yes, it is, if it becomes a big crack. And all big cracks start as small cracks. So it's important, if we're going to maintain the integrity of a structure, to always be looking for those small little cracks to make sure that they don't grow to become big cracks that could cause a building or a bridge or a hydroelectric dam or something like that to fall apart. The same is true in our own lives. We have these little cracks that spring up from time to time. And different people have different issues that they deal with, but we've got to keep those integrity issues in check. Take those small little cracks, correct them before they become big cracks. So work on your integrity. That's one of the keys that separates the successful from the unsuccessful. The second is optimism. People who become successful in network marketing business in specific and business and life in general are optimistic people. They choose to see the world in a better way. They understand that if they work hard and they build their lives right, that the future can be better, not worse. And people are attracted to optimistic people, aren't they? I mean, we vote for optimistic politicians. At the end of a debate between presidential candidates, they give them an opportunity to make closing statements. What would happen if one of those people looked into the camera and said, if you'll vote for me, we'll probably have a recession, maybe a depression. Gas prices will go up. Housing prices will go up. Interest rates will go up. And you'll probably lose your job. Vote for me November 4th. Nobody's going to vote for a person like that because we want to vote for people who tell us that the future is going to be better. The same is true for people who build a great network marketing business and a business in general, is they're optimistic about what can be. Now, it doesn't mean that they're not realistic. In fact, occasionally people will say to me, Chris, I am neither an optimist nor realist, at which point I think to myself, well, la-ti-da. You know what? It's interesting. Everybody, in my belief, is a realist because realism, optimism, and pessimism are time-based words. Realism is based in reality, which is based in the present. You see, we understand realism or being realistic as an assessment of the current situation. It's your perception of the present. So everybody is a realist because we have a perception of the present. But everybody is also either an optimist or a pessimist because we have a projection of what the future will be. And if we project that the future will be better, we're an optimist. If we project that the future will be worse, we're a pessimist. So we are realists and we are either optimists or pessimists. One of the best things you can do to improve your life, to improve your marriage, to improve your parenting, to improve your stature and your standing in the community around you, in the community groups you might be involved in, is to become an optimist. Rather than focusing on problems, focus on solutions. So many people, when something negative happens, they ask this question. They say, why? Why does this always happen? And that focuses them on the problem. But successful people say, what can this teach us? How can this make things get better? They focus on the solutions rather than problems. They don't sit around and mope and wonder why. They begin to focus on how things can get better. They ask themselves, how can this make me better? How can this make me stronger? So the first one's integrity. The second one's optimism. The third one is excellence. People who succeed in network marketing in specific and generally in life are people who set for themselves a standard of excellence. They don't satisfy themselves with average or the status quo or mediocrity. Instead, they say, in every area of my life, I'm going to achieve excellence. We're drawn to people who are excellent. We like to eat at excellent restaurants. We like to buy excellent clothes. We want to drive an excellent car. We don't want to drive a substandard car or wear substandard clothes or eat at substandard restaurants. We are attracted to excellence, and we're attracted to excellent people. So one of the things we can do to become successful is look at our life in every area, look at our life and say, how am I going to raise the bar? How am I going to move from being mediocre and average to being excellent? We look at our physical life. Will we achieve excellence? We look at our emotional life, our intellectual life, our spiritual life, our relational life. Every area of our life, we say, how can I improve to make myself better, to achieve excellence so that other people are attracted to me and want to do business with me? Number 1, integrity. Number 2, optimism. Number 3, excellence. Number 4, goal setting. Now, I know a lot of people don't set goals, but the fact is that people who become successful are people who know where they're going and they know when they want to get there. That's what it means to set goals. Do you know where you want to go? Or are you living life kind of like a paper cup in a windy parking lot? When the wind goes one way, you go that way, and when the wind goes another way, you go that way. Most people live their lives that way. Specifically, a lot of people in the wage system live their lives that way because they don't have control of their own income and their own financial destiny. They're allowing somebody else to determine how much money they'll make, and they end up not having a whole lot of goals for themselves. If you're in a wage system and you're making $40,000 a year and you say, I'm going to make $1 million a year, there's really no way to be able to do it. But when you get into the profit system and out of the wage system, you can set those kinds of goals for yourself. And the people who set those goals are the people who are most likely to attain them. People who don't set goals, they might achieve more wealth than they would in the wage system, but they don't achieve as much as the people who set goals. Integrity, optimism, excellence, and goal setting. The fifth one, and very, very important for people who are going to be successful, what separates the successful from the unsuccessful is self-mastery. Self-management. You know, I used to teach time management seminars, and now I have one of my favorite sayings, and my favorite sayings is there's no such thing as time management. In fact, it's a myth that you can manage time. You know, you can't manage time. Time happens whether you want it to or not. You can't make it go faster. You can't make it go slower. It just clicks, clicks, clicks right along. All we can do is manage ourselves. So it's not time mastery or time management. It's self-mastery or self-management. The people who become successful are the people who are able to manage themselves as time passes by. The people who can discipline themselves each and every day to be involved in business building activities rather than loafing around or doing things that are not going to produce the financial freedom that they want. They understand the importance of self-mastery. Jim Rohn says that every person will experience one of two pains. They will either experience the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. That simple idea that if we will experience the pain of discipline, and you know what? Being disciplined is a pain sometimes. The people who are in great physical shape, do you think that every single day they want to get up and go and run on the treadmill and pass up the ice cream and the popcorn? No, it would be a lot easier to just sit around and eat all the time, but they discipline themselves, and it's not always fun. The people who are successful, you know, maybe they're in the cold calling sales business, they pick up the phone and pick up that phone and pick up that phone and pick up that phone, and people say, no, 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 quit calling me, no, no, quit calling me, no. Do you think that they like that? They don't like that. But they discipline themselves to do what it takes, and over the course of time, eventually they achieve the things that they want to achieve. If you'll experience the pain of discipline, you won't have to experience the pain of regret. But if you won't experience the pain of discipline, you won't achieve what you could achieve, and at the end of your life, when all of your time is gone, and you have nothing left but the wish for more time, you will have the pain of regret. The people who understand this, that it's about self-mastery, it's about disciplining themselves as their life passes them by, these are the people who become successful. These are the people who work harder on themselves than they do on their jobs. They focus on integrity and optimism, excellence, goal setting, and self-mastery. When you combine the right system with a person who's committed to personal development, working hard on themselves, opportunities are unlimited. Here's one last thought for you about successful people. Successful people leave a legacy. Successful people leave a legacy of love, a legacy of relationships, a legacy of knowledge, a legacy of spiritual depth, a legacy of emotional health. People who want to succeed are people who leave a legacy for other people. It's not just for themselves. It's for the people around them. It's for their families, for their friends, and the community around them. That's what it means to be truly successful. But I have a question for you. You might want to leave a legacy of love, relationships, knowledge, spiritual depth, emotional health, but do you also want to leave a financial legacy? The best way to leave a financial legacy is to commit to your own personal growth and get into a profit system. Now, if you are already in network marketing or direct sales and you're listening to this CD, that's fantastic. I want to encourage you to continue on, to not quit, to build that business, to let the system grow over the period of a number of years so that you can achieve financial independence and the time freedom that comes from that residual income. But if you're considering getting into network marketing or direct sales, I want to challenge you to not just think about things the way you've always thought about them or to have preconceived ideas, but to truly look at, number one, your system that you're in. Are you in the wage system? Are you in a traditional profit system, a stationary system, a standard system? Or are you in a leverage system? Or are you in an invisible system? Well, if you're not already in network marketing or direct sales, you're probably either in a traditional profit system or the wage system. But I ask you this question: are you ever going to achieve financial independence by being in that? Don't just consider things the way you've always considered them. Instead, open your mind and be open-minded about these kinds of things. And then consider the opportunity. Take a time to look at it, to truly understand it, not just discard it immediately, but to really say, could this be an opportunity for me? Could this be an open door? It may or it may not be. I'm not going to make that decision for you. You have to make that decision. But be open-minded about it and truly consider it, especially if you want to achieve financial independence. Here's some questions for you. What direction is your financial life going in? Are you going in the right direction or going in a negative direction? That should help you understand whether or not you should stay in the system you're in now or get into a profit system. Another question, where will you be financially in 10 years? Are you going to be still stuck in the same old rut, or will you be further down the road toward financial independence? And the last question, what's stopping you from taking control of your financial future? I want to challenge you, no matter where you are in life, to take personal growth on as your challenge, to become a better person, to grow in all the areas of life, because the more you grow, the more you're going to earn. The more you grow, the better life you're going to lead, the better relationships you're going to have. Take this as your own personal challenge. But I also want to challenge you to really be honest with yourself as it relates to the direction you're going toward financial independence. Are you ever going to get there in the wage system? Or do you need to consider being in the profit system and to be in the right kind of profit system to achieve financial independence?